Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mondays with Meaning. I'm glad you're here. Like, what is this? What is this thing? Oh, it's my microphone. There it is. I hope you can hear me okay. Let me know. Um, Hi, my name is Angela Ward. I am a registered nurse, transformational coach, and the CEO of Guardian at the Gateway, where you find yourself. I am here supporting those that are really feeling stuck and struggling. Let's find our way together to kind of ease that. If you're watching live, please, um, please make sure to leave comments, like say hi, um, leave me some emojis. Those are always fun. I'm just clicking out of some stuff to make sure that everything is going smooth here. So if there's any hiccups, please let me know. Make sure that you've granted StreamYard permission to show if you're watching on Facebook, because that way I can actually see who you are while you're watching. So yes, please say hi, leave some comments. If you're watching replay, please put replay in the comments. If you're watching on another platform, let me know what you think. Check it out. So here we are. Where I am, it's a beautiful sunny day, and I loved spending last week in gratitude and appreciation. It was really lovely. This week, I wanted to talk about something that my clients are bringing up to me, and something that I think I, of course, have struggled with. In fact, it was a topic of conversation at Thanksgiving dinner last week, and that was around belonging. Belonging. What does that even mean? So I wasn't 100% certain. I mean, I kind of understood what it meant in a material sense, right? Like it belongs, something belongs to me. But it also means acceptance as a natural member or part. That has been showing up in so many ways in my own life or with people um, I'm working with, family members. At Thanksgiving dinner last week, I was really surprised to hear from my mom that she felt when she was in high school that she didn't belong, that she felt kind of like an outsider, um, which wasn't my impression of her. She seems like she can get really connected to people. And I've also had some experiences recently with people who don't necessarily feel at home in their bodies, like their body doesn't belong, or like there's some part of their physicality that is hard to inhabit. So, I think what I'm discussing today is that sense of belonging in a community and connected as a member to a greater group, but also that idea of finding a sense of belonging within ourselves and within the world. Does that make sense? Does this resonate with anyone? Because I will definitely say I've had my challenges um, belonging at times. And when I've had times in my life where I have been completely surrounded by really amazing people and yet somehow feel like I don't fit in, or that I'm an interloper in that space, or that it's just a little bit more than I'm qualified for, maybe, or capable of. If anyone has had that kind of feeling, please give me an amen or something in the comments. Let me know. And I think it's so interesting that this is really a universal phenomenon, I think, or at least an American one, perhaps. I'm not sure if other people in other places experience this. If perchance you're watching this from outside of the United States, I'd love to know your experience around belonging, although I would kind of guess that um, it's pretty universal in a way. And I wonder why. I wonder why. Some thoughts I've had, at least about feeling at home in the world, is, well, let's back up a little bit. My background, as many of you know, is working as a birth worker, a doula for many years, and as a labor and delivery nurse. So I've had the honor of being at the portal as life comes into the world. And there is no doubt that a brand new baby is aware, has awareness, has some type of consciousness. Um, and I wonder often, I often wonder, where does this consciousness come from? Who are we? Where did we come from before we were born? Many of us have contemplated where we go after we die, but where did we come from? I would venture to argue that it's the same place. We come from this universal consciousness space source. That's what I think anyway. So sometimes I believe, perhaps, as we're coming into this place, this doesn't feel like home quite the same way that it can. So I think there is a longing for that, I don't know, place of maybe the easiest way to say it would be heaven or something. Maybe that's a way that language speaks to multiple people, or source consciousness, or the one place where consciousness comes from and goes. That's a whole other topic, but I'd love to chat about that with you sometime if you're into it. So I wonder, when we land here embodied, even as the littlest of littles, if there's this feeling like we're landing on a foreign land, someplace that's unknown and doesn't quite fit right. How does consciousness fit into a body? And as we age and things change, our bodies maybe disappoint us, or we're very hard on our bodies, or they get injured, or they're not capable of doing certain things. And I think that it can make us feel even less at home here. It doesn't look a certain way, right? So there's this really beautiful practice of finding our way to become, to belong here, earthside, in these bodies. And part of that belonging is finding the connection to other here. How might we belong to our community, our tribe, our family, our world? And I don't know that I have the answer, but I sure like to talk about it with you and see if this resonates with you. So, what I have noticed for myself and for my clients is that the more that they feel not at home in their bodies, the more difficult time they have finding a place of belonging within the world, or being able to connect with others. Has anyone had an experience like that? Like, maybe you've come to a place where you felt more aligned and at home here in the physicality of yourself, and then somehow the shields drop a little bit more. It's easier to allow oneself perhaps to be seen and connect. When I think about the meaning of belonging and the idea of this longing to just simply be, without critique, without competition, without hierarchical judgment. For me, that's what I think I mean when I say I want to belong, especially in a community. I don't, when I'm in a group of people and I feel like I don't fit in, it's because there's something that's more of a critique of myself. Although, actually, now that I'm talking about it, that's not necessarily true. There have been times that I've been connected or around people that don't, whose values I don't share, I think is probably the best way to say it. And it's clear that these are not my people, but it's a different sense. It's a different sense, that kind of feeling like not quite fitting into a crew that's not my tribe. So what are some ways that we could find to belong, to connect. I honestly think sometimes being vulnerable, ooh, the vulnerable word, about I think sometimes being vulnerable with other people about this experience of not belonging and how it feels can really help other people have permission to say, "Oh, yeah, I kind of feel like that too." Like thinking of when I pause like this, I just want you to know I'm thinking about sharing something about one of my clients, but also wanting to really like make it super confidential. Um, Although it's kind of universal. I've had many clients that have had real struggles with feeling like they can just even talk to strangers, right? There's also a theory there's a myth in our society that says as you get older, you can't it's harder to make friends, which I think is bullshit personally. I think that's not true. I think the more we perpetrate that myth, the more difficult it becomes to make friends. And I think that we lose the capacity to do so. Part of that is because we aren't as vulnerable. So if I think back to being a real little kid, um, when I made friends or talked to people, it was just very innocent in a way, just curiosity about what they were doing, asking questions, being attuned to what they were feeling, like being able to see if they were sad or angry or whatever, and having this curiosity about them. As I've gotten older and I've struggled to feel like I'm belonging, or I've had clients that struggle to feel like they're belonging, they lose this curiosity. The curiosity kind of dissipates and it kind of turns this way instead. Instead of me being curious about your experience, I instead start looking at all of the ways in which you are different than me and how I don't fit with you or how you might look at me and judge me and critique me. And it becomes very inward and painful. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. It's like, they're so much cooler than me. I'm never going to fit in. That's what happens in high school, I think, more than anything else. And with my clients, as we've brought in a sense of curiosity with other people, it's amazing how we can drop this veil, drop this shield a bit, and simply ask questions and be real. And I'm certainly not saying word vomit, be real. Like, oh, my life is so crazy, but just maybe sharing some empathy with something you hear, or maybe even speaking to something you see with someone else. Oh, I imagine that would make you sad, or that sounds like it would be really challenging as they tell you their experience. Or I imagine you felt a real sense of joy. How exciting for you that must be. Do you understand what I'm saying? Uh, just kind of creating a sense of connection and play and lightness, and offering a softball sometimes can be really helpful. Um, this is leading me to think about those. I know some of you probably are watching this that have a tendency to then that may be very gifted at connecting with other people, specifically because you ask so many questions and can turn the inquiry back around to like, oh no, let's make it all about you. I certainly have that skill set. I imagine some of you have that skill set as well. And it's also a great way to kind of hide and shield a bit of who we are. So what's the secret sauce between revealing a little and still staying engaged? I don't know. I think for me, it's really trying to connect with people in a deep presence and really trying to listen with my whole self. Ellie Wild says, it is lonely to do that. Are you meaning it is lonely to redirect all the time onto other people and project? It is. I agree with you. I think that is absolutely lonely because it makes us feel like nobody sees us. And yet being seen is really can be really scary. can be really scary, especially if we've been hurt by others. So, for those of you that are watching in the Facebook groups, know that these are safe spaces to see one another and be vulnerable and to connect. There's no tolerance for shaming or bullying or dismissing your experience or anything like that. So, there are containers in this world where we can practice that with one another, of coming into connection with unconditional positive regard. And how do we do that? Actually, Ellie, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's helpful because I think what happens for me when I do that, if I start saying to others, kind of projecting all the info back on them, it's because I'm feeling really tight and guarded here. So, in those situations, it's helpful for me to listen with full presence. So, like, I'm really absorbing what they're saying and checking in with my body to notice if I'm holding my breath or to see if I'm like tightening somehow, tightening my belly or starting to spin down a path. Like, what am I going to say next? Or trying to filter it somehow, how to kind of drop into this deep presence. And then allowing what's arising in our bodies to through, to come through. There are times when I have the monkey mind going, the brain going, and the language, and like, oh, they're saying that. So I got to make sure I'm speaking about that. Oh, they're talking about that. So I'm going to make sure I ask about that. Like, there's the kind of operating system that's running back here. Do you guys know what I mean? I hope. Um, and if I can really practice this deep presence and deep listening skills, there comes this awareness through my body. That's the way that I experience it. You might experience it in a different way, but I experience kind of the chattering is different. But then there's kind of this like bubble. And I have to trust it because sometimes it's not a rational path that the conversation or the connection might take, but it's a deeper truth that I'm picking up on somehow. So that's a whole conversation around mind mapping and how we're able to kind of really fall into resonance with one another. Um, but it is actually that's not just woo woo. Like, we really do have an ability to feel what the other person is feeling, and that's really interesting, right? If we can feel what the other person is feeling, how do we not belong? How do we not belong? It makes me think of times I've talked to people, or even in my lifetime, where I'm like, I'm never going to find anybody that loves me because I'm so unlovable. And I had this, I don't know, epiphany or conversation with someone one time that someone said, oh, really? You're the one special person in the entire world that is unlovable. Like, everybody else deserves love and is capable of love and receives love or can find love, but somehow you're the special broken one. So I wonder around belonging, are you the special broken one that doesn't belong? Are you or maybe we're all just the island of misfit toys. I'm not sure. That could be what's going on too. So if we're all on the island of misfit toys, then we all belong. But I get it. It is this longing. And then when you get it, it can be scary. So this week, the theme I'd love you to contemplate this week is, how do you belong here? How do you belong here? When do you notice that you think you don't? When are you in places where you think you don't belong? And what's happening for you in those situations? It's going to be a tricky inquiry. So I'd love to hear your feedback and your comments. I'm tempted. Can somebody let me know how the sound is? Is the sound going okay? Because I'm debating about singing you a song, but I don't know it really well. And if the sound's not great, I don't want to do it. Um, this song, okay, someone going to tell me? Somebody's watching, please. The sound's perfect. Okay, I'm going to do it. Now, this is my version of this song that I learned. It's a lineage I learned that came long ago from one of the 13 grandmothers, who is a group of indigenous wisdom elders, a woman who learned it from her grandmother, who was a midwife in Mexico, I believe. By the time she learned it, the language was lost. And the story about this song is that it was sung when the mother discovered that she was pregnant. The community would sing this song to her, and then they would sing this song to the baby when the baby was born. And it's a welcome song, and it welcomes us earthside and reminds us that we are loved here and we belong here. So I will do my best. For any of you that are watching that knows this song, please forgive me if I'm doing it wrong, but this is just how I remember it. Okay. Itinali, itinali, on Schwenge tu vai. Itinali, itinali, on Konda and I. Yetsene, konda ki kai so kisto. Yetsene, konda ki kai so kisto. Etsene, kondai kikai so kisto. Etsene, kondai kikai so kisto. Kondori chori, kondoi nai. Titi bonai. Titi tatoi. Titi tatoi. I forget what happens right here. Itinali. Itinali, on Konda and I. Itinali, on Schwenge tu vai. Yetsene, Konda kikai so kisto. Yetsene, Konda kikai so kisto. Yetsene, kondai 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 kikai so kisto. You belong here. You are welcome here. We are so happy that you are here. All right, my friends. Thank you for indulging me the song. Love to you all. And keep in touch, all right? Love you. Bye.